So on to T-Spart. Before we start, I want to know where you're listening from. Drop your country in the comments below. Samunjito to TA Spy right. Maybe you're going through a separation right now, or you're in a relationship that feels like it's falling apart. Somangia deviar spy. Tote spy right. Or you're single and wondering if you'll ever figure this whole love thing out. So angi tiote spy right. Maybe you're divorced and people look at you like you failed. It's something fundamental. This conversation is for you. So aren't DTRs a wine DTOT sporite. I'm going to tell you something most successful people never admit. I've been divorced 3 times. 3 times in the public eye. Somuntio OTA or sporite. Where every failure becomes a headline. Where every personal struggle becomes entertainment for strangers. And you know what? So INDD to T spyite. Each divorce taught me something about love that I couldn't have learned any other way. Each ending became a beginning. So be EOTRSPOI. Start Sawine to Teosprin. Each failure became a foundation for understanding what real love actually looks like. This isn't going to be comfortable. So I'm going to tell you things about relationships that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Samuin Teote sporite. But by the end of this conversation, you're going to understand why divorce isn't always failure. Sometimes it's clarity. Sometimes it's courage. Sometimes it's the most loving thing you can do. Let's talk about love loss and what it really means to choose someone for the right reasons. The first marriage, building on fantasy, Justine and I met in college. Saminji, Teo THE Sparite. I was this awkward kid from South Africa trying to figure out how to fit into Canadian university life. She was brilliant, Saminji Teo T Sparite. A writer confident in ways I wasn't. I was attracted to her mind before anything else. Samswantu views I spurate. But here's the thing nobody tells you about young love. You don't fall in love with a person. You fall in love with a projection. Somantoi sparate. You see someone and your brain fills in all the gaps with fantasy. You think you know who they are. Sawan totia sporite. But really you know who you want them to be. Justine and I were together for 8 years before we got married. 8 years. Somebody just tito tia sporit. You think that would be enough time to really know someone, to understand if you're compatible, to work through the major issues. Sobin tiotie spirite. But compatibility isn't about how well you get along when life is easy. It's about how you handle stress together. So indi tu t a spirit. How you grieve together, how you grow together. And we never really tested those things until it was too late. So I ento techi spy right. When we got married in 2000, I thought love meant having someone who understood your ambitions, who supported your dreams. Somanta disaitiwa stats awata totoi spart, who could match your intellectual energy. I thought if we could talk for hours about books and ideas in the future, so I'm sparite. We could handle anything life threw at us. I was wrong. The first real test came with loss. Spite. We lost our son Nevada to SIDS when he was just 10 weeks old. And instead of bringing us together, so it in TOT Sprite, it revealed how fundamentally different we were in processing pain. Justine needed to talk about her grief. So wongere to techia sparet. To process it with others, to feel it fully and openly. I needed to channel mine into action. Har sobet so tesh a spart. Water it into building something that would prevent other families from experiencing what we had. Neither approach was wrong. Havoadi a DRCY. Stare sawam to te sporite. But they were incompatible. While she was trying to heal through connection, I was trying to heal through creation. So would GTOT spy bait. While she needed presence, I was giving productivity. While she wanted to process the past, I was racing toward the future. Suabodoto te spart. We had 5 more children together through IVF, but the fundamental disconnect remained. We were 2 people who loved each other. Samependi, tiote spirit, but couldn't figure out how to grieve together, how to support each other's different ways of processing trauma. Samuin tio tetispe art. The divorce in 2008 was devastating, but it was also honest. We had built our marriage on the fantasy that love conquers all. Sobi and juto tispire ite. That if you care about someone enough, you can bridge any gap, but some gaps aren't meant to be bridged. Saba and Shah. Sisardo tiak spy mate. Some differences aren't meant to be overcome. The lesson from my first divorce, love isn't enough. Compatibility matters. So to teach spirit. Shared values matter. Similar approaches to life's challenges matter. Sovereign G2OH spirit. You can love someone deeply and still not be able to build a life with them. The second marriage, the rebound trap. Sovereignty spywart. 6 weeks after my divorce from Justine was finalized, I met Tula Riley. 6 weeks. Looking back, Somu Wahol Ti Spot. That should have been a red flag the size of Texas. Tula was everything. Justine wasn't where Justine was serious and intellectual. Somingi Ta Sparait. Tula was playful and artistic. Where Justine was American and grounded, Tula was British and whimsical. Samoan Tio Ti Sparait. Where my first marriage had been heavy with shared trauma, this felt light and effortless. Sorain Abiv Ar Satiwai. Star. Sodashi Smir Pride. I thought I had learned from my mistakes. I thought I was choosing differently this time, but I wasn't choosing at all. I was reacting. I was running from the pain of my first divorce straight into the arms of someone who represented everything that relationship wasn't. That's the rebound trap. You don't choose your next partner based on who they are. You choose them based on who they're not. You're so focused on avoiding the problems of your last relationship that you don't pay attention to what new problems you're creating. Soanto Tash Spart. Tula and I got married in 2010. The wedding was beautiful. The honeymoon was perfect. And for a few months, Soanto T Spirit. I thought I had figured it out. This was what love was supposed to feel like. Easy, joyful, uncomplicated. Sirar Minotiv Spotlight. But easy isn't sustainable when you're building companies that require 80 weeks. So ein tuo te spirite. Joyful becomes difficult when you're dealing with the stress of near bankruptcy. So I'll the 80 why. Start so agito te aspirat. Uncomplicated turns complicated when two people have fundamentally different relationships with ambition and work. Someone dio tich spy art. Tula wanted a husband who was present, who prioritized a relationship, who could separate work life from personal life. Serdi Kowara. She wanted romantic dinners and weekend getaways and the kind of attention that makes you feel like the center of someone's universe. I wanted a partner who understood that the work I was doing wasn't just a job, it was a mission. I wanted someone who could handle the intensity, the unpredictability. The fact that sometimes saving humanity has to come before date night. Again, neither of us was wrong. So illing to a spirit. But we were wrong for each other. The first divorce from Talat happened in 2012, but here's where it gets embarrassing. Samindi te toai parit. We got remarried in 2013. Because when you're not dealing with the root issues, heduviel was to tioisia. Starts a wine to achi spire when you're not addressing the fundamental incompatibilities, you convince yourself that maybe you just needed a break. Somio and tudivartiwai. Maybe time apart will fix everything. It doesn't. The same problems that broke you up the first time are still there. Somaing tio tau spirite. Except now they're worse because you've added the stress of having already failed once. Soangi to ti spirite. You're trying to prove that your love is strong enough to overcome anything. Somodin tio ti spite. But you're just repeating the same patterns with more desperation. We divorced again in 2016, final this time. So would you are so arsiatia sui di. Spirit, the lesson from my second marriage and remarriage. Don't choose someone because they're different from your ex. Sa'yin tavis parait. Choose them because they're right for your actual life, not the life you wish you had. Samio tote sprite. And never ever try to fix a broken relationship by recreating it. The third marriage, the success trap. By 2018, so mangi tot aspired. I had learned a lot about what didn't work in relationships. I was older, more self-aware, more successful. Tesla was thriving. Samangio Tuar. T-Explorer at SpaceX was launching rockets regularly. And I felt like I had my professional life figured out. Samo T spied. I thought success would make love easier. Soben and Tio, TT, Spar T. I thought financial security would eliminate the stress that had contributed to my previous relationship failures. R Psi TY start. Sobo aberante ispurais. I thought being clear about my priorities and my mission would help me find someone who truly understood what they were signing up for. Ta spar right. Ender Grimes, Clara Bocher, an artist, a creative genius. So I'm to tie sparit. Someone who understood the pressure of public life and the demands of creative work. Someone who had her own career. So I'm on tiotis the spar. Her own identity, her own relationship with intensity and perfectionism. On paper, it looked perfect. So in tiotia spirit, two successful people understood each other's worlds. So I'm dio ispartis, who could support each other's ambitions while maintaining their own independence. But here's what I learned. So I'm di totap sparit. Success doesn't eliminate relationship challenges. It just changes them. When you're both high achievers, har so tabote spirit, both used to being in control, both accustomed to having your vision went out. How do you build something together? Sawara edivar sediwai. Start sar and totias bite. How do you compromise without feeling like you're diminishing yourself when you're both in the public eye? So modi TV varchit spurt. When every argument might end up in tabloids. When every moment of happiness gets scrutinized by strangers. To Cyrilla Dr. Start somno to spirit. How do you maintain intimacy? How do you be real with each other when the whole world is watching? How do you start some novel? You're both busy changing the world. Each other music, my company's what how that you create space for relationship. And then we had our son sex hour, and everything became more complex. Suddenly wasn't where they're latent relationship about we could go. Parents, while people be parents should have been album, but the particular part of our pelvic deal, competitive part of the partner is he was a great person with those mean powers. I'm married in the uneven and thorny. Samimigito teis parit. Claire and I never got married, but we went through the emotional equivalent of a divorce. Saw yo efsevar why? Starty spirite. The end of our romantic relationship in 2021 was different from my previous breakups because we both approached it with more maturity. So until chi spy might. More honesty about what we needed and what we couldn't give each other. The lesson from my third relationship, sarditos ti sparit. Compatibility isn't just about understanding each other's work or sharing similar success levels. So ye to ti spirite. It's about having compatible visions for how you want to structure your daily life, how you want to handle conflict, samumian tot spirit, how you want to balance individual ambition with shared goals. What these divorces taught me about love. After 3 major relationship endings, spirit, I've learned things about love that I never could have understood from a successful first marriage. So I to see things that most PH people spend their whole lives avoiding because they're too painful to face. Lesson 1, love and compatibility are different things. You can love someone's mind, their spirit, their ambition, their creativity, and still not be able to live with them. Love is about appreciating who someone is. Compatibility is about whether who you are and who they are can function together in the real world. So what T spart? So most people think love should be enough. It's not. You also need shared values, compatible life rhythms. Sabil to D spar. Subscribe to similar approaches to conflict resolution and aligned visions for what a relationship should look like. Lesson 2. Samu and T Same Sparit. Timing matters more than people want to admit. I married Justin when we were both figuring out who we were as adults. Totias Pait. I rushed into marriage with Tallulah when I was rebounding from loss. So moninji totr sparite. I tried to build something with Claire when we were both at peaks of our careers that demanded everything we had. Simoning tot spirite. The right person at the wrong time is still the wrong person. Not because they're flawed, too prosperite, but because relationships require bandwidth, attention, sprite, and emotional availability that you might not have during certain phases of your life. Lesson 3, sabuntuo spart. You can't love someone into being different. Every divorce taught me this lesson in a different way. So identio sparit. You can't love Justine into grieving the way you grieve. You can't love Tula into being comfortable with your work intensity. So mentito he sarit. You can't love Claire into wanting the same daily life structure you want. Sorin di tioseris polite. When you find yourself constantly trying to convince someone to want what you want, to value what you value. Sod ein di tiotiris spy yudi. To approach life the way you approach life, you're not in a relationship, you're in a renovation project. And people aren't houses, So I'm to tight spy right. They don't get better when you fix them. Lesson 4, divorce can be an act of love. This is the hardest lesson, but maybe the most important one. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is admit that you're not right for each other and set each other free. To find someone who is staying in a relationship that doesn't work isn't noble. It's not honorable, it's not proof that you're committed. Start so worried. These stone people slowly diminishing each other. It's just two people slowly diminishing each other instead of admitting that love alone isn't enough to bridge fundamental incompatibilities. So in spite. Each of my divorces was painful, but they were also honest. So if there were a mission that we had tried our best and it wasn't working, and that continuing to try would only hurt both of us more. So community OTT spirate. Lesson 5. Multiple relationship endings don't make you a failure. So ONG DVR CTI. Star Soagatate spies. Society treats divorce like evidence that you're bad at relationships. 3 divorces must mean you're really bad at them, right? Toti spirong. How sedei versus I. Start samaidio tiochi spirit. Multiple relationship endings can mean you're good at recognizing when something isn't working and brave enough to do something about it. Somaoanj tiotesha spirite. They can mean you're not willing to settle for mediocrity just to avoid the discomfort of starting over. That can mean you understand that finding the right person is with the risk of being wrong several times first. Samali, to tiesparite. The deeper patterns looking back at all 3 relationships. I can see patterns that I couldn't see while I was in them. So tisparite. Patterns that might help you avoid some of the same mistakes. Pattern 1. Are so intuitive spite. I kept choosing based on attraction rather than compatibility. In each case, I was drawn to something about the person. Soma and DVR to pospret. Justine's intellect, Tula's lightness, Kla's creativity. But attraction isn't a strategy for building a life together. Samamdiin to tir aspirat. What I should have been asking, do we handle stress the same way? Do we want the same things from day to day life? Saman, TOTF spirite. Do we approach problems similarly? Do we have compatible energy levels and social needs? Pattern 2, Sovyan, TT sparit. I underestimated the importance of shared life philosophy. I thought if we loved each other and respected each other's goals, Saw and D, TS spirit, we could figure out the details later. But the details are everything. How much time do you spend together versus apart? Small G to TH spirit. How do you handle money? How do you make decisions? How do you deal with extended family? How do you approach parenting? So on DTOTA spyite. These aren't small details, they're the foundation of your daily experience together. Pattern 3, Sowarngio tuosi spirit. I kept trying to fit relationships around my work instead of integrating them in each relationship. Stelyo hali edivr city. Start somo and tio teach spy right. I approached it like here's my mission to change the world, and here's this other important thing called love that I need to fit into the margins. So you on the otiwa spy word. But love isn't something you fit into margins. It's something you build into the structure. Soleo titi sprite. And if you can't build it into the structure, if your life mission is incompatible with deep partnership, soburugi itioti spar. Then you need to either change your mission or accept that you're not designed for traditional relationships. Pattern 4, soado indi totia spirit. I confused intensity with sustainability. All 3 relationships had incredible highs. The conversations with Justine, sawadang to ishispirite. The romance with Tula, the creative connection with Claire. But intensity isn't the same as sustainability. So wouldn't to ti spite. Real love isn't a series of peak experiences. It's a system that works during ordinary Tuesday afternoons. Sion DUVR supply. Start subordinate. It's something that functions when both people are tired, stressed, and dealing with mundane problems. What I know about love now. So I'm to these spirit. At 52, after 3 divorces and multiple other relationships, here's what I understand about love that I didn't understand at 30. Samaudi tia DRSE sparit. Real love is quiet. It's not dramatic highs and lows. It's not constant intensity. It's not needing to prove anything to anyone. So I write. Real love is two people who genuinely enjoy each other's company, who handle problems as a team. Samunji divir saves one, TOT Spirit, who want similar things from life and are willing to work together to build them. Real love is based on choice, not feeling. Somangi to test Spirit. Feelings, chemistry fades. The person who makes your heart race at 30 might bore you at 40. Hadiri vas start samuan tio. But if you choose someone based on shared values, compatible goals, and mutual respect, that foundation can support a lifetime. Sopio th Spirit. Real love requires two complete people. You can't use a relationship to fix what's broken in you. Soar and tuot Spirit. You can't expect someone else to provide what you're not providing for yourself. You have to come to love whole, sabawing til tispur, not looking to be completed. Real love accepts trade-offs. Every choice you make in love is a trade-off. Somo tia Spirit. If you choose someone stable, you might trade away some excitement. If you choose someone creative, sawangi Spart, you might trade away some predictability. The question isn't whether there are trade-offs. So modes tisha Spirit. It's whether you're making them consciously and you're happy with what you're getting in exchange. Real love is rare. Most relationships are compromises. Most marriages are two people who decided they'd rather be together than alone, to a Spirit. But who aren't actually that compatible. Real love. The kind where you genuinely prefer each other's company to anyone else's. Where you're better together than apart. Where you're building something neither of you could build alone. That's rare. And maybe that's okay. So you hell. A divarsai star samuviges walsis polite. Maybe it's better to have 3 relationships that taught you something than 1 mediocre marriage that teaches you nothing. Sama sio tia Spirit. The questions you should ask. If you're in a relationship now or thinking about getting into one, Saantio th Spirit. Here are the questions my divorce has taught me to ask about compatibility. Do we handle stress the same way? Samoengi to tichi spirits. Do we have similar energy levels and social needs? Do we want the same amount of together time versus individual time? Sober di ti ote spirit. Do we approach conflict resolution similarly? Do we have compatible relationships with money, work, and ambition? About values, tason to otita spirit. Do we agree on how to raise children? Do we have similar definitions of loyalty, honesty, and commitment? Saabonje to teacher spirit. Do we want the same things from family life and social life? Do we have compatible spiritual or philosophical beliefs about vision? Sowing into tuispar. Where do we see ourselves in 10 years? And are those visions compatible? Soangdi, tiotai spite. What does a successful relationship look like to each of us? How do we each define love, partnership, and marriage? Somantudi tiotiasparai. What are we each willing to sacrifice for this relationship? And what aren't we about timing? Soangi tiasparai. Do we both have the emotional bandwidth for a serious relationship right now? Soamgitio tate spirit. Are we both in a place in our lives where we can prioritize partnership? So aingi. Toti spirit. Are we choosing each other or are we running from something else? The hardest truth. Here's the hardest truth I've learned. So indeed tio te spirit. Some people aren't designed for traditional relationships. Not because there's something wrong with them. Tarsa, because their life mission, their personality, star swydy, startis a one-to teti spirit. Their way of moving through the world doesn't fit into conventional partnership structures. I might be one of those people. Somwing di ote spirit. My work isn't just what I do for money. It's my calling, my identity, my contribution to humanity's future. So being tiote spirit, it requires 8 weeks, constant travel, enormous stress, and total focus. Habu y'all be heddled idiarsis 2I. Start somorntio titi spirit sp. It's not compatible with romantic dinners and weekend getaways and the kind of daily attention that makes someone feel cherished. Oh, the years to start so well into otiwa spirit. That doesn't make me a bad person, but it might make me a bad partner for someone who wants a traditional relationship, and maybe that's okay. Sorry all go vars to I. Sa'uda or so spirite. Maybe it's better to be honest about who you are and what you can offer than to keep trying to force yourself into shapes that don't fit. Samira gtio te spirit. Maybe some people are meant to love humanity more than they love individuals. Saman tio te spart. Maybe some people are meant to change the world instead of building a perfect marriage. Howdies olihandwai starts galinto trespart. Maybe the goal isn't to find someone who completes you, but to become complete enough that you can love without needing. How do I handle a divorce? Testar sabuban ti otispu right. Give without depleting yourself and choose based on what you want to build together rather than what you're afraid to face alone. Sav yuito you te ispar. What this means for you if you're divorced, don't let anyone make you feel like you failed. Divorce can be courage. Abago titesti. Star spy it can be clarity. It can be choosing growth over stagnation, truth over comfort, possibility over security. Sadin di te ote spy. If you're in a relationship that isn't working, don't stay just because leaving feels hard. Hard isn't the same as wrong. How spar sa? How? Start so in toti sparit. Sometimes the most loving thing can do is admit that you're not right for each other and set each other free. Ham dio te sparit. If you're single and people are pressuring you to find someone, someone tio te sparit. Remember that being alone is better than being with the wrong person. Start sobo ti spirit out. Use your single time to become the kind of person who attracts the kind of love you actually want. If you're looking for love, look for compatibility. As much as chemistry, look for someone whose way of living fits with yours. Whose approach to problems complements yours, whose vision for the future aligns with yours. And remember, love isn't about finding someone who meets all your needs. It's about finding someone whose needs you enjoy meeting, whose growth you want to support, whose presence makes you a better version of yourself. The final lesson, start samundo te spirit. 3 divorces taught me that love isn't about finding the perfect person. It's about becoming the kind of person who can love well, who can be honest about their needs, clear about their boundaries. Generous with their attention, and brave enough to leave when staying would hurt everyone involved. My divorces weren't failures. So'o and T.O.T.T. spirit. They were education, expensive education, painful education, public education, but education nonetheless. And now at 52, so'o and G.T. sparate. I understand love in a way I never could have at 30. I know what I need, what I can offer. So bundi to T spirit. And what I'm not willing to compromise on. I know that being alone is better than being wrong together. I know that love is a choice you make every day, not a feeling that happens to you. Whether I find that rare, real love again remains to be seen, but I'm no longer willing to settle for anything less. And neither should you. Share this with someone who needs to hear that divorce isn't always failure. Sometimes it's wisdom. Subscribe if these conversations help you think differently about love and relationships. And remember, what you teach Spirit, your relationship status doesn't define your worth. Sorry to teach Spirit, your willingness to be honest about what you need and brave enough to pursue it. That's what defines your character. Love well, swatch COT sport. Choose wisely, and don't be afraid to start over if you need to. I'm Tia Teach Be a Soret. 3 divorces taught me that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let go. Soma and TOT spy right. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is try again.